all-out war has broken out across the sector. The terrifying greenskins battle against the endless bioforms of the Tyranids. Crawling from the spawning pits, a Tyranid strike force prepares for battle. All the while a horde of Ork Kommandos rush into battle, oblivious of the danger. Will the monsters from beyond the stars win today's battle report, or will the Death Skulls claim victory for Gorg and Ork?
Hello everybody, Ethan here, and I'd like to introduce you to my Pyro Hive Fleet. Leading my team is a Tyranid warrior leader, equipped with a Devourer, a Bone Sword, and a Lash Whip. The same can be said for the Tyranid warrior fighter below him, and to round out the Tyranid warriors I have my Heavy Gunner with the same melee options, along with his Venom Cannon. Accompanying the warriors will be 5 Genestealer fighters, all with double Rending Claws. Each of those little Genestealers is going to get an upgrade as well. I'm going to give them all Adrenal Glands for extra movement in this battle, because Orcs can move around a lot, and I want to move faster.
Hi everybody, Nate here, and for today's battle report I'm bringing a whole ton of boys. I'm literally bringing every single operative on the team. My leader is a Commando Knob with Power Claw, and following him into battle is a Slasher Boy, a Breacher Boy, and a Sniper Boy, a Daka Boy, a Comms Boy, a Burner Boy, a Rocket Boy, a normal Commando Boy, and then last but not least, a Commando Grot and a Bomb Squig. When it comes to my team's equipment, I start by giving my Knob a stick of dynamite, with the hopes that he's able to get an early game kill with it, hopefully one of Ethan's warriors. I then give Choppas to both my Comms and Rocket Boy, making them just a little bit better in melee. And last but not least, I give climbing equipment to both my Rocket Boy and Sniper Boy, making it a little bit easier for them to get on the vantage points. When it comes to the mission and the layout we're going to be playing the mission Secure, so we have to spend APL on objectives to capture them, on the objective layout called Straight. So, starting off with the barricade step, I start by putting my first barricade underneath the Orc stronghold, so I can rush to the doors and have just a little bit of cover.
To give myself some options when trying to move out the middle of the board, I take my first barricade and put it on the closest point in a way that I can still get a warrior through both sides, and I can put some Genestealers on it and super conceal and hopefully let them kind of climb up the board faster without the threat of them getting shot.
And for my second barricade, I put it just in front of the first one, so I can kind of go from cover to cover.
I'm feeling decently fine with the amount of cover that I have within barricade range, so I decide to put one a little bit further in the back, kind of behind this building. I'm aware that the Commandos have options as far as forward deploying and getting some extra dashes out, so making sure that my Tyranids are in cover. Now my game plan for deployment is really just seeing what I can do with all conceal. I have the ability to not only stalk to get free movement out of conceal, but I can also flip an order for free, so I account for this by just leaving my warrior in concealed cover. And then my first group, I only have to deploy one Genestealer. I put him on the top side of the board there, just so that he can move up the side into that building and cause some trouble later.
When it comes to deploying models, I start by laying out my Sniper Boy, giving him hopefully a good shot or a chance to climb up on the building, then placing down my Breacher, Comms, and Burner Boy, all of which are in conceal by the way.
In my second group, I really want to make sure my Heavy Gunner is able to do something in this game and he's not getting shot off the board right away. So I put him within dashing distance of that hatch there so he's able to get some vertical oppression later in the game. And then looking at my Genestealers, I put another matching one on top there to move up the board and into that building later on. I put a Genestealer on the bottom there, so that way he's able to just kind of balance out the board. I'm able to move up both sides and not get flanked.
For my next slot, I placed down my Daka Boy, my Normal Boy, and then my bomb squig. I had to back my guys up a little bit. I was a little bit over the 6 inches that I needed to be. I then placed all of these boys in conceal as well.
Seeing a lot of commandos stacked on that one building, I mirror it with another one of my warriors down there. Just like before, I buddy up my gene stealers, and then give my leader one as well.
And then for my last group, I placed down my rocket boy, my commando grunt, and then I end by forward deploying my knob.
After seeing this very potentially dangerous forward deploy, I use scouting to give myself a free dash and move that heavy gun out of the building to hopefully keep him a little bit more safe.
Alright everyone, so coming into Turning Point 1, I'm feeling pretty good. I have my knob in a great spot. I'm hoping to knock out a warrior right away. That would be awesome. But I'm not holding my breath. But if the knob gets swarmed, I'm honestly not too worried. I'm hoping he acts as a distraction so I can stealthily sneak up my bomb squig up through the board, because that would be great. Because last thing I want is a repeat of the Custodes v Orcs game, because the bomb squig just killed everything. So I want to get him out of the way, make sure that he's set up for a really good charge Turning Point 2. But yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I'm feeling confident, and we'll see where things go.
Into Turning Point 1 here against Nate's Orcs. We'd done a practice game, and we ended up with a tie, so I know it's probably going to be also very close unless something really messed up happens. His commando knob is obviously threat number 1 here. It's got a pretty good radius with the dynamite, and depending on his role, it could do some big damage. With how things are spaced out, I can do my free movement with a concealed guy right off the bat, and he'll only be able to hit one thing if he really pushes his knob out to do something right away. It'll overextend his knob, and I would be fine with that to really get some good damage on him right away, because he's a big melee threat to pretty much everything on my team, especially the Gene Stealers. But really the play here is to use the warriors to damage the orcs, hopefully down to a one-shot range from a Gene Stealer crit, so down to 5 damage or so. And then a Gene Stealer can come in and, mop them up, take a point, kind of deal. I'm anticipating that I'm going to be losing at the beginning. I'd be fine with a 4-2 split at the beginning to put me in a good spot for later on in the game. And then hopefully by the end, he should have, 3 or 4 orcs, and I'll be able to kind of move around him and really get some stuff done. Last thing is, I know his Grot can move pretty far. There's only so many ways he can move on this board, but I'm definitely going to be keeping a Gene Stealer behind to deal with that Grot, and then I can score, a free route, or maybe even eliminate guards with that as well. So we'll see. I just have to win the initiative or something like that, even though I don't think NATO prioritizes Grot too much. I think it'll be kind of a one and done kind of deal, but we'll see. For the first strategic ploy of the game, Nate is going to be playing Shush, which allows all of his commandos that are not within line of sight or have a conceal order and more than 6 inches from enemies to immediately get a free dash action. Basically lets him move up everything on the board a free 3 inches. Knowing just how devastating that dynamite can be, I used my ploy for stock to get a free move on my Gene Stealer here to hopefully block the knob from moving up the middle and throwing the dynamite. For TAC Op reveals, Nate and I both reveal Assassinate Target, meaning that we need to basically just select an operative and incapacitate it. And then I also reveal Eliminate Guards. He moved up his knob and gave me an opportunity to play that right away. Because Nate and I had both picked Assassinate Target, I nominate one of my Gene Stealers, and Nate nominates his regular Commando Boy.
So, moving into turning point 1, I start by activating my Commando knob, and unfortunately he's too far away from my Assassinate Target like I thought he would be, so instead I pivot and move him around the Ork stronghold, where he then throws the dynamite into the 2 Gene Stealers in the back. For my first attack, I roll a crit and 2 hits, and Ethan is only able to retain 1 save for cover, so unfortunately that Gene Stealer explodes, and it hits the next Gene Stealer, where for that attack I roll 3 hits, and yet again Ethan's only able to save 1 dice. He tries CP re-rolling one of them, but he unfortunately re-rolls it into a fail, causing that Gene Stealer to also explode.
After the immediate decimation of 2 Gene Stealers, Heavy Gunner in an unbridled rage whips over to the knob for a point-blank Venom Cannon shot, in a cunning maneuver that would make both Gork and Mork proud. And unfortunately, due to just a scratch, Nate can just ignore that last die for a CP.
For my next activation, I simply move my Comms Boy up from cover and tap the point.
To compensate for my right flank getting destroyed, I just move a Gene Stealer up from the left to the middle.
Moving now to my Breacher Boy, I move him onto the point and tap that one as well.
Out of fear that my leader might get shot, I just take and move him behind the building, that way he can move up next turning point if needed.
Next up is my Burna Boy, who taps the point he was on, and then moves right next to the Comms Boy.
Using Unseen Hunter to flip my order and rushing up the side of the board, I see an opportunity to target the Rocket Boy, which is a huge threat to my warriors. Because the Devourer has Ceaseless, I get a really good roll for this attack. Nate, of course, retains 1 for cover and ends up rolling 1 crit save. But 11 damage goes through and melts the Rocket Boy before he can do anything.
Feeling it's time to do some serious damage, I activate my Sniper Boy. I shoot into one of Ethan's warriors, and I get 4 hits and a crit. Ethan is only able to save 1 for cover and fails both of his other rolls, which seriously injures but does not kill that warrior.
I continue with my plan to move Gene Stealers up the middle of the board.
Moving on to my Slasher Boy, I charge and fight the warrior that I wounded but wasn't able to kill. I get 2 crits, and for Relentless, I don't really get anything, but it's enough to just take that warrior down.
It is at this time that Nate reveals Robin Ransack as his next tack up. Because he was able to eliminate my Gene Stealer, he now just has to survive the rest of the game. With the Tyranids dropping left and right, I have to compensate by moving my Gene Stealer from the middle up to the side of the board.
I then move my Commando Boy back behind the heavy terrain.
Going into Overwatch, I give this Venom Cannon thing one more try, where I retain a crit and hit. The knob saves the normal hit, and finally some damage actually goes through.
Moving now to the Commando Grunt, I use his zipline ability to move him all the way from the back of the board up to the Slasher Boy, where he taps the point. Moving now to my Daka Boy, I simply move dash him up onto the point. And last but certainly not least, I move dash my Bomb Squig up into some heavy cover.
And it looks like initiative for Turning Point 2 will go to Nate. To round off Turning Point 1, the Commandos have 4 primary VPs, 1 secondary, only lost 1 model, and 3 CP remaining. While Hive Fleet have 2 primaries, 0 secondaries, 5 out of the 8 models, and 0 CP.
Alright, so going into Turning Point 2, I'm feeling pretty good. I was able to kill 2 of Ethan's Gene Stealers and 1 of his warriors, which is awesome. I have a feeling the commando knob is going to go down this turning point, but honestly, he has done his job perfectly. Now all I got to work on is killing Ethan's assassinate target, the one gene stealer that's kind of by that cargo container. I need to get 3 boys past the line so I can start scoring. It's not shock tactics, but basically the other tac op that I picked. And yeah, I got to just watch out. I'm really hoping that the squig comes into play here. I think I should be able to get another gene stealer. If I could get a warrior though, that would be pretty great. But that's kind of the plan. Just gonna move up the board, gonna play a little cagey, but just kind of keep whittling Ethan down, especially on models. If I can get rid of his models, he can't activate, and I already secure all the points. So that's the plan moving forward. We'll see how it goes.
So, I don't know if there were many things that could have made that a worse first turning point. Aside from my Rocket Boy shot, the rolls have not been in my favor. I probably could have played the knob situation a little bit better. I would have loved to get some more damage on him with that shot I had, but it is what it is. I'm going to try to do some defensive movement here around the squig, maybe get a shot off on it before Nate's able to use it, because it very likely will just melt a gene stealer, and I don't have many models left, so I can't really afford to have that be the case. I'm really just going to try to kill as many orcs this turn if possible, and hope to scoop up points later in the game. So I'm gonna have to be kind of on the defense now for this turning point, and maybe move up the right flank a little bit to not really lose too much of my board control, but also move away from him. So we will see. At the beginning of turning point 2 here, I use 1 CP for lurk and move my gene stealer that was in the middle behind the building, so he's staying on that point. At this time, Nate also plays WAAAGH, which lets him, if he were in combat, to retain 2 normal hits, turn one of them into a crit. And for my eliminate guards target, I pick his Slasher Boy. For turning point 2, Nate reveals Get Stuck In, which is his faction tac op. Essentially, he needs to get 3 or more friendlies within 6 inches of my drop zone, and do that for 2 turning points.
So for the first activation of turning point 2, I start with my knob yet again. I begin by shooting the warrior, which I roll a crit and a hit, and Ethan rolls a crit, so only the hit goes through, which is fine. It softens them up a little bit. I then charge my knob into Ethan's warrior and fight him. Rolling for my attack, I start by getting just 1 hit, but then I re-roll, and that dice becomes a crit, so I get a crit and a hit. Ethan is able to roll 1 hit, but because of lethal 5, it becomes a crit. I then attack him with Bolt using just a scratch to tank that 1 hit, and I deal 12 damage to Ethan's warrior.
In an attempt to get my eliminate guards target, I charge my gene stealer into his Slasher Boy. I once again get a very good roll on my gene stealer, and relentless reroll into 3 crits and 2 hits. Nate ends up rolling 4 hits, and because of his WAAAGH ploy, he actually gets to retain one of those as a crit. Trading with crits here, the gene stealer strikes for 1, then the Slasher Boy hits him back, and then the gene stealer finishes him off.
Moving on to my next activation, I move my squig up next to the door, just to prevent any nasty monsters from moving through it.
Using the hatch, I move and dash my leader up on top of the building, and I shoot down on his Dock Boy. I start with 2 hits and a crit. I narrowly ceaseless re-roll into a hit. With the Dock Boy only getting 1 save, he ends up going down 2.
Moving on to my next activation, I then move my Comms Boy up and shoot Ethan's Gene Stealer. And I completely mess up the roll, but after everything's said and done, I end up getting 4 hits. Ethan retains 1 for cover and saves another, so only 2 hits go through, dropping his Gene Stealer down to 2 health.
To give my 1 Gene Stealer some backup, I move another one up, and because he's my assassinate target, I don't want him to die, but I'm going to tap the point.
Moving on to the Commando Grot, I do the same thing he did last turn. I zipline him over to one of the points and tap it.
I know that with the health my heavy gunner's at, he's not going to be able to beat the knob in a fight, so I just fall him back so he can overwatch later.
For my next activation, I move my Commando Boy over just a smidge, but that's about it.
That Gene Stealer I lurked earlier in the game charges his grot and insta-kills it.
Next, I move my Breacher Boy up and steal the point.
This being my third heavy gunner shot into his knob, I actually end up retaining 2 crits here, and the knob does not save anything this time.
Next on the chopping block is my Burner Boy, who I move up and use to shoot Ethan's Gene Stealer. I get 2 hits and 2 crits. Ethan is able to retain 1 for cover, so unfortunately it doesn't kill him, but it does get him down to 3.
Because I know how dangerous that squid can be for my remaining warriors, I decide to overwatch into him. I get 3 hits and a crit, and ceaseless roll into another hit, meaning the squid cannot save it.
Lastly, I move my Sniper Boy up onto the Orc Stronghold and shoot down into the Gene Stealer that killed my Slasher Boy. I score 4 hits and a crit, but it doesn't really matter because the gun has W2 and just completely annihilates that Gene Stealer.
Rolling a 6, Nate will also get initiative for turning point 3. At the end of turning point 2, Kommandos go up to 8 primary VPs with the 1 secondary, have 5 out of 11 models remaining, and are at 0 CP, while Hive Fleet have 3 primaries, 1 secondary, half of the team remaining, and 0 CP as well.
Coming into turning point 3, I'm feeling really good. I have lost a good amount of operatives. I'm going to have to be really smart about this, but the nice thing is Ethan's not going to get his assassinate target. I have a feeling I could, I just got to play it smart. I think I have a really good chance of that. The best thing I have is I have primaries over Ethan, and I highly doubt he'll be able to get them back. I have enough operatives to just make it so at the very least he's getting 1, maybe 2 points each activation. So at the very least, I know I'll have him beat on primaries. Or he's going to have to do something pretty crazy if it not for it to not be that way. I want to try and get a few sneaky plays off, but I think I'm in a really good position right now. I don't think I'm going to get my faction tack up. I really hope I will, but I don't think it's really in the cards right now. But there's always a chance. But I think I'm going to do good.
All right, Hive Fleet turning point 3. Things are looking better. I did exactly what I said I was pretty much needing to do, which is play defensively, and I lost a lot of primaries there. Now I have some options. Now that some of the orcs are dead, especially the knob, the grot, and the squig, like those were 3 big threats I felt like there that I was able to clean up. Now I feel like I have some options with my warriors that will afford me to get either some kills or some points back to kind of swing this. It is still the 3rd turning point. There's been a lot of death in this game early on, but I'm anticipating that I could make it pretty close. I don't know if I'm going to win, but I can get the game close.
Moving into turning point 3, I begin with my Burner Boy. Just like last time, he shoots Ethan's Gene Stealer. This time I get 3 hits and a crit. Ethan only retains his cover save, so I just barbecue the bug. After that, I move him back slightly.
With only a few Tyranids left, I activate my leader. I use Will of the Hive Mind to give him an extra APL. I charge him into the Breacha, and I tap the point behind him and fight. I end up retaining 2 crits, and Nate retains 2 normals. I hit him with a crit. He hits me back with a normal. I hit him again. He just scratches it with a CP to take no damage, and then he hits me for a second time, leaving the Breacha at 4 health.
Next up is the Comms Boy, who I move up and shoot Ethan's Gene Stealer. And for this roll, I whiff big time. Out of all the dice I roll, I only get 1 crit, which Ethan easily saves.
Fortunately, there's no good shot from my heavy gunner, so I just move him up, barely touching that point and tapping it.
Activating my Sniper Boy next, I move him over and use him to shoot Ethan's heavy gunner. During my shooting attack, I get 2 crits and 3 hits, and because of his mortal wounds, I insta-kill Ethan's bug.
In an attempt to retain that point but also not die, I charge my Gene Stealer into his Comms Boy and just leave him there.
Next up is my normal Commando Boy, who I just move up behind one of the barricades. And lastly, my Breacher Boy just passes.
With both players rolling 2s, the tie will go to Hive Fleet for turning point 4. For turning point 3, Commandos got a few more primaries up to 11, still at the 1 secondary, 5 out of 11 models, and 0 CP. Hive Fleet up to 6 primary VPs, 1 secondary, 2 out of 8 models remaining, and still at 0 CP.
It is coming down to the wire here. It's getting to be more and more close. This is the first time I got initiative. Huge for me. I have 2 very good options of what I could do, and it really comes down to either like denying Nate 3 points or gaining myself 3 points, and I'm gonna have to really just do the math and figure out what is the best option for me in sacrificing either my Gene Stealer or my leader. Like there's no way I get both, but I can pull back some points, get myself a lot of attack out points that might offset the huge primary lead that Nate has. It's still going to be super close. I don't know if it's possible to win. I haven't done the numbers, but I think Hive Fleet could pull it back a little bit. So I'm excited to see kind of where this last turning point plays out.
So going into turning point 4, I think I got this in the bag. I'm feeling really good about this. Main goal is to kill my assassinated target, the 1 Gene Stealer left on the other side of the board. I'm gonna try and get him, I think with just a scratch. And with 2 Choppas right next to him too, I think it's gonna be easy. I wanna try and deny Ethan his primaries as well. I'm gonna try to take that 1 point back, but yeah, I think it's gonna be a really quick turning point. I think it's gonna go really well.
Top of turning point 4, I finally get initiative. So I take the most of it. I pick his Breacher Boy as my eliminate guards, and I immediately fight him with my leader. I thankfully retain 2 crits and 1 hit. Nate only retains 1 save, so that means I can just parry him out and insta-kill him. To try and stack on the points, I activate Robin Ransack, my last tack op, in the hopes that my leader will stay alive and I get the 2 points. Because again, to Will of the Hive Mind, I have an extra APL where I can tap that point in the middle.
So for my first activation in turning point 4, I activate my Comms Boy, who fights Ethan's Gene Stealer. Using his Choppa, I get a hit and a crit, and then I reroll my failed into another normal hit. Ethan rolls great and gets 2 hits and 2 crits, but it's not enough and I'm able to kill Ethan's Gene Stealer. I then tap the point for free and then give an APL to the Commando Boy. Next up, I activate my Burner Boy and just move him onto the point and tap it. And then for my last 2 activations, I simply pass on both my Sniper and Commando Boy.
At the end of the game, Commandos, with 15 primary VPs, 3 secondary VPs, 4 out of 11 models remaining, scored 18 points, while Hive Fleet only had 7 primaries, 4 secondaries, and 1 out of 8 models at 11 points total, meaning that the victory goes to Commandos.
Hey everybody, we just finished the game and we want to go over our thoughts about it. Overall, Ethan, what would you think?
I thought it was very fun.
It was closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Especially after turning point. After turning point 1, I was feeling really good, especially getting those 2 Gene Stealers right off the bat.
I was feeling really bad. Turning point 1.
Yeah, it was trying that out. It worked super well. I'm surprised the knob lasted as long as he did. I truly thought the warrior was going to take him out, but with just a scratch and saving the 2 hits on him, it worked perfectly.
Yeah, no, the heavy gun is hitting on 4s. 5 dice is nice, the AP1. And I got some hits, but your dice rolls saved it, and then just a scratch.
Especially in the beginning. During the beginning of the game, I was feeling really good about my dice rolls.
And then I got a little bit of damage on Overwatch, but...
A little bit, and it was enough to make me concerned, especially on the Moz who were getting Overwatch. In the beginning, I was feeling really good. Turning point 2 or 3, though, I started losing a lot of boys, especially around turning point 3. I was worried I wouldn't have enough for the very end.
Yeah, no, I mean, my plan was, and I said it right from the beginning, I'm going to lose the first 2 turning points. Like, I'll lose a 4-2 split or something, and then I'll pull it back with killing enough orcs that I'm able to kind of have more board control and just more movement options than you. And that just didn't work when I didn't have the models, and like I kept whiffing certain
There were
stuff.
shots
and,
you should have had, but you just completely worked on them.
Yeah, I mean, luckily it was expensive, a 2-point move to get the Rocket Boy. Like, that was a good roll. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't have
it was
no good
one of
rolls.
my big hitters. Orcs only have 3 models that can really reach out in range, and the Rocket Boy is the best of them. So losing him turning point 1, I was really sad about that and kind of nervous going forward into the game.
Yeah, and then it's hard for my Gene Stealers to trade with Orcs, especially with just a scratch, because then I'm losing, and if they have the blades,
Having
the
Choppas on the
equipment,
Orcs works really, really well, and that's why I had taken 2 of them. I was
Yeah.
thinking about taking more, but it worked out really well.
Yeah, your climbing equipment helped you to some degree. And then your attack ops, you got a little bit, but
I should have been smarter when it comes to tac ops. I was really thinking. First off, I wasn't even thinking I'd be able to kill 2 Gene Stealers off the bat. So I was expecting like 2 more melee operatives. So I'm like, Robin Ransack, I'll get that. Slashoa died really quickly, really quickly after he got that kill. So there's nothing I really could have done. And then for my faction tac op, I could have pushed for it, but it just kind of crumbled turning point 3. I really should have taken shock tactics. Shock tactics would have been perfect. Get a kill, turning point 1, perfect. And then getting a kill, I think it's get a kill, turning point 2. Control 2 objectives, turning point 2. Super good. So it works out well.
yeah, and then like it's hard for Orcs into Tyranids in that sense of like you would have to really push up the board to get that guy. I mean, you could have done eliminate guards too, and that would have helped.
And that's probably what I should have switched out Robin Ransack for, was eliminate guards. I should have switched out faction tac op for shock tactics, and then Robin Ransack for eliminate guards. I feel like I would have been doing much better, but it worked out in the end.
You got the primary,
Exactly.
so like that's what mattered in the end. I was proud of myself for pulling it back as much as I did.
There was points where I was really thinking, all right, I'm going to start losing. I don't have enough guys, and with the amount of heavy on this board, I didn't think I had the shots. Sniper Boy honestly didn't really do a whole lot during this. So it was pretty good. The big thing that I really tried is with Orcs, I get very aggressive, so I was trying really hard to be kind of restrain myself to some degree. I will push up the board, and then it'll just kind of get slaughtered. So another thing that Brett off camera was saying is talking about the Grot. I was feeling really good with the Grot play. I wish he survived longer. I would have been fun, but getting him from here to here and just capping that point right away was a really big play, I think.
No, yeah, I knew that the Grot was going to be doing that kind of shenanigans, and I said it right away. I'd leave a Gene Steal in the back to kill the Grot, and that's
it's exactly what
exactly
happened.
what happened. Like he got to do more than I wanted him to. But I got to kill the Grot, I got to kill the Squig in the same turning point, and the Knob.
And the Squig did nothing. I was so careful to slowly move him up the board. And then I forgot there's a hatch on the piece of terrain. The warrior went up and just blew the Squig into pieces.
Yeah, it was just a timing thing, I think. Maybe with some different, different activations. And maybe a little bit different board presence, you would have blown something up very well.
I'm just happy I didn't blow myself up. During our Custodes game, just annihilate everyone. The fact that the Squig didn't kill anyone, you know what? I can live with that.
He had some offensive pressure, though. I had to play around him.
Exactly. It took an Overwatch, so happy enough about that.
Squig didn't do nothing. So,
It had a presence. It was pretty small. The Grot, I was actually feeling really... The fact that I was able to cap 2 objectives with it, I was feeling really happy about that. Ethan and I did a TTS game, or Tabletop Simulator, before this, and that's exactly what I had done during that as well. And it's kind of when I realized, oh, this is what we use the Grot for, and it worked out fantastically.
Right. Yeah, and I knew I wanted to use the Warriors, and having them be shooting Warriors is really the best call for things like the Squig. I think it'd be interesting to see 10 Gene Stealers against Orcs.
Oh, for
You've
sure.
got the...
It would have been... I wouldn't have had the Choppas for it, that's for sure.
Sure, yeah. I think the melee threat still would have been really hard to overcome. I wouldn't be getting shot as much, but you can also just move up, or you can charge and conceal. I guess charging and conceal wouldn't really matter too much.
And that's the other thing is, with Orcs, charging and conceal, there's no reason not to start with them all in conceal. You get right away, which gets them a free dash. Moving up the board, and especially in a board layout where it was like this, moving up the board was super fast for me. It worked out really, really well.
Yeah, no, there's not much I can do about him getting the free dashes. I mean, technically, the Gene Stealers get free dash too.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It didn't really come into play
Okay.
a whole lot here, because the Gene Stealers were spending. Well, they were pretty much getting to where they needed to with the adrenal glands with the extra movement.
The threat ranges on the Gene Stealers with adrenal glands was really great. I really had to like play around that. It was difficult. So kind of watching how the game turned around, it was kind of like this spinning circle around the big, heavy power plant in the middle. And yeah, I think it was a really fun game.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I could have played the beginning a little bit better, and then maybe it would have been closer. But you still had a pretty good lead, so I think it was well earned.
Thank you, and I'm really happy with how the game went. And if you guys liked how the game went, please like and subscribe. Share this with your friends. Comment if you want to see any matchups. I think officially we have every kill team in the game. Everything one but one. We don't have Inquisition yet, but give us time and we'll probably pick that up too.
And this is also a very different format than we usually have. So let us know what your thoughts are. You know, what went well or what didn't. Compared to previous stuff. We chose this because we just felt it might look cleaner, and it saves us a lot of time editing wise, as far as not using the overhead shot as much. So
and getting video reports out faster is exactly what we want to do for everyone.
So yeah, we'd like to get up to a pace where every 2 weeks we're putting out a video. So that's something we're going to be aiming for
Moving
you
forward.
guys. Some consistency.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and tune in next time.